Way back when there was only one world, people had ready access to a mythical source of all wisdom, light, and life, where the hearts of all living things joined together. They called that entity/place/whatever Kingdom Hearts, and it was protected by a key sword called the X-Blade. Things went seriously wrong, as they tend to in Paradise creation myths, when people started fighting over Kingdom Hearts. They created weapons in the image of the X-Blade called Keyblades, and fought a war so bleak and awful that you wonder how Disney ever approved this. Holy jeez. By the war's end, the X-Blade was shattered and Kingdom Hearts plunged into darkness, hidden away from everyone. Wow, thanks for ruining everything, Keyblade losers. Fast forward a good long while and you have the Kingdom Hearts universe as we know it, broken into a variety of whimsical Disney worlds with some Square Enix brand weirdness mixed in. At this point some folks are still looking for a way to find and harness the power of Kingdom Hearts, and the most ambitious among them is a Keyblade master named Xehanort. While his original desire was to balance light and darkness in a universe that he saw as too light sympathetic, he eventually went completely nuts and decided to pick up where the war left off and build the X-Blade for himself. He learned through extensive magical research that the weapon could be forged by a heart of pure light clashing with a heart of pure darkness, because the KH universe runs on hard fuel, and literally ripped his apprentice in half to create those two different hearts. Holy shit, this guy doesn't mess around. That whole ripping in half thing led to the creation of Ventus, who got the heart of pure light, and his pure darkness twin Vanitas. Xehanort separated them so that Vanitas' darkness wouldn't run Ventus' light before the time was right, and sent Ventus off to train with a fellow Keyblade master named Eric's. There Ventus met Eric's apprentices, Aqua and Terra, and they became fast friends. Meanwhile back at the Crazy Ranch, Vanitas' pain and sorrow was so immense that it spawned an entire race of Moloch enemies called the Unversed, which are basically the destructive antithesis of humanity. Together, Terra, Aqua, and Ventus trained to pass the Mark of Mastery test and become true Keyblade masters. However, the test is fixed by Master Xehanort for evil mastermind reasons, and Terra fails after he's deemed to have too much darkness in his heart. Tough break, dude. Xehanort's meddling prompts the trio to split, with Terra dashing off to, allegedly, seek guidance from Xehanort. Aqua and Ventus are left to clean up the Unversed mess and pursue Terra through a variety of Disney worlds. Turns out going in search of Xehanort isn't the best decision for Terra's mental health. Once the evil genius has his claws in Terra, he tricks Terra into doing evil things, causing the kid to doubt his own intentions and make him more susceptible to manipulation. That has some pretty dark real-world parallels and I'm seriously curious how closely Disney's reps read the script. At the same time, pursuing Terra gave Ventus all the training he needed to become as strong as Vanitas, and Xehanort successfully combined their souls into the X-Blade, for about 5 seconds anyway. Just long enough to use it against Terra, shoving aside the poor guy's weakened heart and taking its place, turning Terra into a soulless meat suit. Wow. But before he could cause any more heart-based destruction, Mickey and Aqua show up, after depositing Ventus' soulless, comatose body in the safest place they can find, defeat Terranort, and shatter the X-Blade again. That whole mess ends with Vanitas and the Unversed being destroyed, Ventus' heart and Terranort disappearing into the ether, and Aqua being pitched into a world in between light and darkness from which there was no return. Seriously, Disney approved this? You're probably wondering where the heck Sora, Riku, and Carrie are in all of this, because last you remembered they were the main characters. We're still in setup land, so their part of the story doesn't start for quite a while, but something about them does need to be mentioned here. The only reason they're important is because of Terra, Ventus, and Aqua. While going on his emotionally destructive universe tour, Terra stumbles upon a little place called Destiny Islands, where he meets Riku and Sora. Seeing potential in Riku, Terra chooses to make the boy his Keyblade successor, which apparently just involves handing someone the thing to see if it likes them. Riku passes with flying colors and becomes a Keyblade wielder. Sometime later on a planet called Radiant Garden, Aqua does the same thing with Carrie, though it was mostly an accident because Carrie had grabby hands as a child. Oddly enough, Sora never got to go through this beloved childhood ritual, but he meets Venta's heart as it drifts through the universe and agrees to act as its protector. Venta's heart becomes one with Sora, giving the latter magic Keyblade powers and starting a trend of Sora having more hearts in his chest than is medically advisable. Remember how I said Terranort went bouncing across the universe after Aqua and Mickey put the smackdown on him? Soon after that he lands in Radiant Garden and meets its ruler, Scientist Ansem the Wise. While Terranort had completely lost his memory at that point, Ansem saw potential in him, a dangerous thing in this series, and took the guy on as his apprentice as they studied the effects of darkness on people's hearts. The procedures eventually reignite Xehanort's memories and he starts doing pretty messed up experiments, trying once again to get access to Kingdom Hearts right under Ansem the Wise's nose. Ha, not so wise after all. In the process of conducting all those affronts against science and wholesome family entertainment, Xehanort and his co-conspirators unleash the Heartless, which consume all of Radiant Garden. Ansem the Wise is plunged into the same in-between world as Aqua and all of Radiant Garden's residents are either turned into Heartless or slingshot across the universe. That includes Carrie, who ended up on Destiny Islands. In the midst of that specific madness, Xehanort, who by then had assumed Ansem's name, because why not, is split into two beings, a Heartless named Ansem and a nobody, comprised of all the junk left over after a heart disappears, named Xemnas. Both are still pretty interested in the whole Kingdom Hearts thing. Ansem decides to collect the Princesses of Heart, Disney princesses with pure hearts created from pieces of the X-Blade who act as keys to Kingdom Hearts, yeah, just go with it, to bust his way in, while Xemnas plans to release as many hearts as possible to get the realm to appear. Translation: kill a bunch of people. Nice. While all that was going on, Ansem the Wise's other apprentices go through similar changes. Their bodies turn into nobodies who swear allegiance to Xemnas and form Organization 13. They set up shop at the nobody spawn point, called the World That Never Was, with an outpost in Castle Oblivion. Oh, and remember how I said Aqua left Venta's body in the safest place she could find? Yeah, it was Castle Oblivion, but Organization 13 starts infighting so fast that they don't really notice he's there. Okay. We are finally at the part where Sora, Riku, and Carrie show up. Growing up in a blissful paradise, these three enjoy perfectly normal childhoods and have no idea how screwed things will eventually get. Being dumb kids, they decided they want to leave and explore the world, and boy does the universe ever answer. Right then Ansem unlocks the heart of Destiny Islands, represented by a keyhole, naturally, plunging it into darkness that breaks it apart like a neutron star while our intrepid heroes are still standing on it. Lesser folks would have been swallowed up and turned into Heartless, but Sora and Riku turn out alright. Sora even gets a Keyblade out of the deal. Carrie wasn't so lucky, but thankfully she's a Princess of Heart, and her heart conveniently can't be overcome by darkness. Instead it latches onto Sora and gets cozy with his and Venta's respective hearts. Meanwhile, Riku takes her comatose body so she doesn't misplace it, and tries to find a way to bring her back to life. Ah, friendship. Sometime later, Sora wakes up in a dark alleyway with someone licking his face, and thank God that someone's Pluto. He then meets a brand new duo of friends, Goofy and Donald Duck, who are searching for their wise king Mickey Mouse. Wow, he turned out well. Turns out His Majesty ditched his responsibilities to his kingdom to find out why so many planets are imploding recently. Because Sora has no place better to be, and because he now has a magic key sword thing, he decides to accompany Goofy and Donald on their quest to find King Mickey. Unfortunately, Riku chooses that very moment to show up, and doesn't like that Sora found a new set of quirky pals less than 24 hours after Carrie's soul was sucked out of her body, which is a pretty good point, actually. Anyway, Riku is thoroughly unimpressed, peaces out, and meets up with the evil fairy Maleficent. Apparently she'd spent the last 23 hours convincing Riku that Sora was a jerk and only the powers of darkness could save Carrie. Finally buying into her argument after he sees Sora with his new pals, Riku agrees to go all dark side. Nice going Sora, you dip. After spending some time gallivanting about various Disney worlds and having dramatic run-ins with Riku, Sora and company show up at Hollow Bastion, the carved-out husk of what used to be Radiant Garden. There he meets Riku for the jillionth time, but apparently the guy leveled up his nefarious bastard class and steals Sora's Keyblade right out of his hands. Sora chases him into the world, but apparently that's what Riku wanted all along, because Riku's spirit became so weak to the darkness that Heartless Ansem straight up possessed him. Darkness, not even once. He may be the victim of third-hand meat puppetry, but Riku at least gets a badass new Keyblade that lets him rip people's hearts out. That's convenient, because Ansem apparently knows through crazy demon magic that Carrie's heart is in Sora's body, and he needs it to get into Kingdom Hearts. Sora defeats Ansem, then decides to use the demon Keyblade to extract Carrie's heart from his body, because he's an idiot. That goes about as well as you'd expect. Sora loses his own heart, and then the worst possible thing happens. Holy shit, how is that even possible? Apparently by stabbing himself in the chest and releasing all those hearts, Sora creates nobodies for both himself and Carrie before turning into a Heartless. Carrie doesn't like that much though, and uses magic princess powers she didn't know she had, insert groans here, to give Heartless Sora his body back. The Sora and Carrie nobodies still exist, but are now incomplete and/or ballsed-up versions of what they once were. Those two incomplete nobodies became Roxas and Naaman, who had Sora's Keyblade powers and inexplicable memory warping magic respectively. Those are both really useful skills, so Organization 13 scooped them up to help out with Xemna's own diabolical plans. Fun fact, it seriously took me years to parse all that nonsense. Goddamn. Meanwhile, Sora is blissfully unaware of all of this and is doing his own thing. After recovering from being Disney dead, he abandons Carrie for her own safety, yeah, get ready for a lot more of that, and chases the possessed Riku to the end of the world. No, for real. The final stage is called End of the World, and it's really, really weird. There, Sora and pals find and confront not Riku, at which point Ansem reveals his true form, Sephiroth plus Fabio divided by orange contact lenses, and then transforms into the universe's most terrifying cruise ship. A smackdown ensues and after Ansem gets the boat beaten out of him, he opens the door to Kingdom Hearts and explodes. Sora, Donald, and Goofy try to close the door because it's chocked full of Heartless, but they can't do it alone. Thankfully Riku, now no longer evil and significantly better dressed, and Mickey Mouse show up and valiantly sacrifice themselves, helping Sora close the door with them trapped inside. No explanation for why they couldn't just walk out and push from the other side, but whatever. With order apparently restored and the universe realigning, Sora says a tearful goodbye to Carrie, who is suddenly there for some reason, and is swallowed into the folds of the galaxy. Having no freaking clue what to do with this death-chasing band of crazy people, the universe spits Sora and friends out at Castle Oblivion, where Organization 13 is running the show. They've got a whole heartless killing operation going, sending Roxas, who looks exactly like Ventus, because this series loves mistaken identities, on missions to release more hearts alongside two other nobodies named Axel and Zen. Still, two mindless slaves are better than one, and when Sora stumbles in Xemnas gets the bright idea to use Roxas and Sora, which means somehow taking over Sora's mind. The appointed head of Castle Oblivion, Marluxia, obliges, but only so he can use Sora to overthrow Xemnas and take his place. Sneaky, sneaky. To pull that off, Marluxia uses his favorite tool Naaman, who starts writing herself in place of Carrie and Sora's memories, making him susceptible to her influence. She feels bad about that though, like any decent not-human would, and when Sora fights Marluxia for her freedom she promises to set his memories right. But she has to load him up into this giant egg and put him to sleep for 2 years to do it. That's cool, right? Sora takes the deal and goes under, but that's not the end of the shenanigans in Castle Oblivion. Remember Ansem the not-so-wise from earlier? Well, he's pissed and out for revenge, plus going by the name Diz, for some reason, and decides to put his plan into action. Finding Riku in a nebulous darkness realm, he reveals that a piece of heartless Ansem will always exist within the poor kid, but if he finds Naaman, she can help him lock it away. So Riku heads on a journey of self-discovery, during which he finds and kills a Frankenstein version of himself created in a lab, which probably wasn't what he had in mind. Along the way, he gains the nifty ability to change back and forth between Ansem and an older, blindfolded, emo version of himself. This comes in handy when he finds out about Saura's coma and Naaman tells him the only way for Riku to wake the dipshit up is to take out some dude named Roxas. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So while all of that was going on, Roxas was developing a personality and spending 358 days eating sea salt ice cream with Axel and Zun. Oh, now I get it. Remarkably, he doesn't gain any weight, but his non-heart is broken when Riku shows up and not only drops the bomb that Roxas is Sora's nobody, but so is Zun. Because why not, right? Ha ha ha, this all makes total sense. After clarifying that Zun is a byproduct of the insanity caused by carry-on dating Sora, she has an identity crisis over being an expendable meat sack. She and Roxas bail on the organization, which doesn't end well, as Riku catches up with them and Zun ends up merging with Roxas. At first, Roxas beats Riku, but then Riku turns into Ansem to knock Roxas out, and seriously, is anyone really following this? Either way, Roxas is defeated, and Riku drags his sorry butt back to Diz and Naaman. I don't even. Diz and Naaman plug Roxas into a computer Neo style, dropping him in a fake version of Twilight Town full of fake friends during a fake summer vacation from fake school. Eventually, Roxas gets wise and confronts Naaman, who tells him that they're actually both nobodies so they should totally hang out. Axel also pops in a couple of times, trying to remind Roxas that they were super good friends despite their inappropriate age difference, but Roxas knows better than to talk to strangers and breaks Axel's not heart. The digital Twilight Town weakens the longer Roxas pokes holes in it, and it eventually becomes completely unstable. Diz disappears with Naaman and Riku, who still calls himself Ansem, giving Roxas room to take the red pill and bust out of the simulation. Axel cuts him off at the pass and goes into if I can't have you mode, at which point Roxas kills him and they share a tearful goodbye. That's unbelievably confusing if you didn't play 358 Halves Days first, which was released 4 years after KH2. After shaking the blood of fratricide off his keyblade, Roxas finds Sora in his flower egg cryo capsule, and disappears as all of his memories and personality revert to Sora. After Sora wakes up, discovers he's hit puberty, and reunites with Donald and Goofy, they resume their search for hide-and-seek champions Mickey and Riku. This time around the galaxy, Organization 13 are the ones to beat, though Marluxia's coup d'etat has knocked their numbers down to half. Their dastardly plan to make Sora kill a bunch of Heartless and force Kingdom Hearts to appear is revealed, and they kidnap Carrie just to piss Sora off. Naaman helps break Carrie out and merges with her, just in time for Carrie to run into Ansem Riku and force him to actually talk to Sora instead of being a big baby. After the three share a tearful reunion, where the only one crying is Sora and it's kind of embarrassing, Mickey shows up in an Organization 13 coat, making the most badass entrance he has made in anything ever. Diz shows up too, with some sort of machine to encode Kingdom Hearts as data, which he thinks will somehow fix everything. Why do they call this guy Wise, again? The machine does exactly what you'd expect. It explodes, blows up Kingdom Hearts, and leaves Sora and Riku to deal with Xemnas inside of a monochromatic painting. So damn predictable. Together they put the smackdown on Xemnas and destroy Castle Oblivion, which leaves them nowhere to go but that in-between world where Ansem and Aqua both ended up. Pretty steady population growth there. While the two don't seem all that upset about spending the rest of eternity locked in endless twilight together, a hallucination of Carrie is still kind enough to get them out. Through the power of friendship they wind up back on the island they first tried to escape, along with Goofy, Donald, Mickey Mouse, and Carrie. Okay, stick with me, we're almost there. After the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 2 where it's revealed Sora left Destiny Islands to help King Mickey once more, because good is stupid, our Disney pals discover a long-forgotten note from Naaman, which reads, "Their hurting will be mended when you return to end it." Eventually, they figure out that the note is revealing Sora's true purpose, which is to save everyone tied to his heart, including Roxas, Ventus, Axel, Zun, Terra, and Aqua. I kind of thought it was to save the whole galaxy, but okay, I'm done asking questions. Sora and Riku also go to meet with Mickey's old master, Yen Sid, that is the Fantasia guy, who instructs them to take the Keyblade Master test so they can become true wielders and save the world from a new, encroaching evil. And by new I mean old, because apparently destroying both Ansem and Xemnas means Xehanort's going to come back fully formed. So the last 4 games meant literally nothing. Fan-freaking-tastic. But at the very end we find out that Yen Sid's also going to train Carrie to use the Keyblade, making her, Sora, and Riku a proper world-saving trio, so all is forgiven.